Hi, I'm Callie and welcome to Kapowski Reads. And this week's reading vlog is a little bit different because I have been participating in the Mixtape Summer Readathon, which is being hosted by the lovely Victoria from What Victoria Read, Jean from Jean's Bookish Thoughts, Charlotte from Books and Bargains, and Leanne from Literary Diversions. And I will pop in the description links to each of their channels, although I'm super sure that if you are watching my video, you will know who they are, but I will put them there nonetheless. And this readathon is running from the 1st to the 14th of August, which takes a huge lot of pressure off of my shoulders because it means I don't have to really plan my August reading that much, which is great because I'm a planner and sometimes I overplan things and then I get stressed, and you don't want to be stressed about your hobby. This week I'm going to be sharing my progress for days 1 to 7, the first week, and I haven't read as much this week as I normally would because the day after filming my July wrap up, which I filmed early because I had plans, I tested positive for coronavirus. So those plans quickly got changed and replaced with me being ill for a week and a bit, and my throat's still quite scratchy and my lungs are not happy, but I was just struggling to be a human, and now I'm feeling a bit better, so hopefully I'll be able to get the rest of the boxes ticked next week. But this week I managed to tick off 4 boxes, which is pretty smashing. So kicking off, I didn't do them in order, which really annoys me. I should have gone 1, 2, 3 and done it that way, but instead I think I've sort of done that way, that way, that way, and that way. It makes no sense the order I've done them. So that's just a little bit of chaos and I'm very uncomfortable with it. So the first box that I ticked off was Blame It on the Weatherman by Bewitched, which was an unseasonal read. Now, I am of that age where I grew up with Bewitched and I love Bewitched, and every time I wear denim I think of Bewitched, and I started doing Irish dancing because I love Bewitched. So I was very happy about this prompt. I was not skilled at Irish dancing. I am not a good dancer. Tangent there, just a fun nugget of my lack of coordination skills. I read the Book of Gothel by Mary McMyne because this was a origin story really of Mother Gothel from Rapunzel, and I think of fairy tale and fairy tale inspired books as being very autumnal, and I don't know if that is based on anything other than that's just when I read fairy tale inspired books, or because that's when I like going for woodland walks. I don't know, but for me this felt like an autumn read, so I'm taking it off for an unseasonal read. It definitely doesn't feel summery to read a fairy tale inspired book. So this is all about, I'm gonna call her Heloise. It's all about her growing up in the medieval times, 12th century, and she grew up with her mother telling her fairy stories about child-stealing witches and wolves in the forest, and a tower that protects women with a mysterious mist that keeps all of the men away. And then Heloise, her mother, passes away. That's not a spoiler, it's in the blurb, I promise. And she is sort of left shunned because she experiences fainting spells, and her irises are black, so she's kind of shunned by the rest of the townsfolk, and she decides to go and seek out this tower and basically try and claim sanctuary there because her mother had spoken about how that was a safe place to go. I love the beginning of this. It really, really felt like a fairy tale, and it was just such a, the atmosphere was just so cozy and definitely not summery. And I really loved the relationship between Heloise and her mother. The townsfolk were suitably annoying. I loved the beginning. It gave me really cozy fairy tale vibes, which was what I wanted. And then I feel like the middle was just really slow, really, really slow. I really enjoyed the tower. I loved the wise woman, and I really enjoyed the sort of rebellious nature of the women who all had a secret, and that's just something I love that in a book. I do think that Heloise was perhaps the most infuriating protagonist that I have read in a really long time. She had zero sense of self-preservation. At one point, she told somebody to do something that would just put her, it would just place her right in the danger. That didn't need to happen. And she was just so keen to have everybody trust her that she would just share all of her secrets in the hope that they might reciprocate and share one with her. And I don't think that that's how that works. So I didn't really like the main character. I found her really, I kept getting annoyed with her and the choices she made. She made bad decisions. And the romance in this book just it felt like she could do better. She could really do better, and I wanted better for her. I know who I wanted her to end up with, and that just didn't happen. But I don't know. There's something about when you read a book set in medieval times and there's sort of sexy bits, and you just kind of think, oh, you probably all stink. I mean, he definitely stunk. She had showered. We'd read about her having a bath, but he had not bathed. He was rancid. So that wasn't romantic. That gave me a bit of the book. But this was a fine read. It was an enjoyable enough story. I do feel like I was a little bit missold it as a retelling or origin tale, because you could blink and miss the Rapunzel reference. I felt it was more of just a historical fiction. I expected this book to be set in a more fantastical version of our world, and I didn't really get that. I think it was a good enough start to the readathon, so tick. I then ticked off one of the self-care prompts, which was The Sea by Morchiba. And I think I remember the song from Shipwrecked, maybe? I could be thinking of a different song, but I think this is a theme song for a programme I used to watch on T4 on a Sunday morning before the Hollyoaks omnibus. So I think I remember this song fondly. Anyway, this prompt was to take a moment for some self-care, and I am counting the fact that I took a week off of work because I was sick as self-care, because I don't know about you, but I'm terrible, especially because I've been working from home, for just working when I'm not well instead of resting, because I'm an idiot and I should rest. But I haven't been. But Miss Rona made me rest, so ticking that box. The next reading prompt that I ticked off was the Cake by the Ocean by DNC. I don't know this song. I also would have assumed it was about cake, but it's not. This was a book that was either about food or a spicy book, and I went with a spicy book, and I read The Kiss Quotient by Helen Hoang because I have wanted to read this book for ages, and I had it on loan from the library, and my loan was about to expire. It was fun. It was a fun little, I'm not calling it romance, I'm calling it full out spicy smut, because it was about 70% sexy times and maybe 30% plot. But it was fun and it made me chuckle, and I don't know if I'm meant to chuckle at books that are spicy, but I do because I find them funny. This book is kind of I believe this book was inspired by Pretty Women, which is a film that I remember being a sweet romance, but then I watched it again recently and was like, oh no, I remembered you differently. But this book is all about Lily, who wants to get more experience in the dating world and hires Michael as an escort. And Michael is the dreamiest of dreamboats, the most dreamiest dreamboat that has ever dreamed or boated. And she basically ends up falling in love with him. And this book was just so full of misunderstandings and people just assuming things that were not right, and then awkwardness would happen, and classic. I absolutely loved Michael's family. I loved his mum, I loved his granny, and I loved his sisters. Like, I know they weren't main characters, but sometimes I think it's really important to enjoy like the side characters, because I liked them. The two main characters I didn't really like so much. I found them to be very one-dimensional and just totally, I don't know, I just didn't find their story to be overly realistic, but that's okay because I wasn't reading this for realism. So like I said, the book was very much, I felt very much more about the spicy scenes as opposed to the plot, because I didn't really feel like the plot was all there. I had some issues with a lot of what was going on in the book. The spicy scenes were numerous. I don't know if I'm meant to, need a fan or something. I mean, it's been a heat wave and I've had a fever, so I kind of did need a fan. But I didn't find them to be anything other than funny, which I don't think was their intent. But they were just very repetitive and just, oh, yeah, I can see where this is going. And just, I found myself getting a little bit bored of the spiciness because it was just, there was so much of it and it was always the same. And that's no fun. If you're going to give me loads and loads of spice, give me variety. And, I'll read that and chuckle. But I just found myself getting a little bit bored with this. And I would like to read some own voice reviews because the main character is autistic and I am not. So I can't really attest to how well that was handled in the book. I know the author is also autistic, so obviously knows more than I do. But this book, yeah, it was okay. It was just okay. I feel it was like the epitome of a summer romp of a book. But there was also a fair few occasions where there were, assaulty men, and that's not cool. And there were no repercussions for those acts, which there should be repercussions. Not just, oh, there we go. No, that irked me. That annoyed me. Now I'm annoyed at this book. Now I'm thinking about it even more. I might have to go and amend my rating because I'm angry. So now that I've made myself angry, I'm gonna just tell you about one more box that I've ticked off because I think I've completely lost the light now. Happy summer! It's so grey. The last box I ticked off this week was Summer of '69 by Bryan Adams, which was a summer throwback. So I am going to share some of my most favourite summer pictures. I don't have a lot of photos of holidays because the last few holidays I've had have been winter, because I am a winter girl and I like going on holiday when it's cold. But I have got some summery ones. Most of them were roller derby trips, which were mainly of sports halls, and those aren't fun pictures. But I managed to find some extremely 1980s photos to share. The first one is of me and my mum and my sister. I am 1 or 2, very small, so it's either 87 or 88. We're at the beach in Dunbar, and you might not believe that it was summer, but that is pretty much a Scottish summer usually, because we don't normally have the warm weather. And my mother had clearly stolen my hat. Not cool, Mum. my hat. But that is just such a Scottish summer picture. The next one is slightly later. This photo is, I would say 1990, because I know I wasn't 5 yet, because I remember this, because the jumper that my sister is wearing, the red jumper, gorgeous, I coveted it. I wanted that so much because my sister wore it on a Star Trek float in the parade. In, I don't know if people who didn't grow up in small Scottish towns have parades with floats, but we did. And my sister was on one that was Star Trek, and I wanted to go on it, but you had to be 5 to be on it, and I wasn't 5 yet, so I was raging. And that's why I remember, based on the jumper, that I A, wanted that jumper, and I B, wanted to be on that float. I was not on that float. But this is just such a perfect summery Scottish picture, because jumpers, sandals, because who knows what the weather is going to be like. So it's also blowing a gale, as you can tell by the fact that my hair is covering my face. And yes, I did used to be blonde. I am not anymore, but I was when I was little. So those are my summer pictures, and they made me so happy looking back at them. I don't think my mum will thank me for sharing them, but she looks cute, so we all do. Next week, I am going to be trying to tick off the rest of the boxes. Now, I do want to acknowledge that both of these books technically count for We're Going to Ibiza, which is a book set in a different country, because these books are set in Germany for the Book of Gothel and the US for the Kiss Quotient. But I do have a book that I want to read for that prompt, so I'm not going to tick this box just yet, but I know if I don't get to that book that I've got it ticked. So that's kind of a nice little relief when I'm in a position where I am reading a bit less, which it happens. So next week, hopefully I will have a full board, and then I might just get myself a prize. I like prizes. Why not? If you've been reading anything super summery, let me know in the comments, because I'm kind of into reading summer reads right now. What on earth is going on? Thank you for watching. Bye!